Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We have a great event for you planned. Our plan for this evening, we're going to go through some end of the semester announcements, talk about club elections in the fall, merchandising updates, and then, of course, we have our keynote speaker, candidate for governor, Mayor Mike Murphy. Before I go into any of that, though, I'm required to include this disclaimer. This event is organized solely by the UST College Republicans without the support or endorsement of the University of St. Thomas. The University of St. Thomas does not participate in political campaigns on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for public office. And of course, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram if you haven't already. As we approach the end of the semester, keep in mind that our club roster gets cleared over the summer. So if you are currently a member signed up on TommyLink, please remember that if you want to participate in the club next semester, you have to re-enroll, you have to re-register. So please be mindful of that. If you do not re-register in the fall, you won't get the notification emails about things that are happening. We also there is an event coming up on tomorrow, actually, April 26th at the 3M Auditorium. It is a speaking event put on by the Reseka Project talking about what it means to be a Catholic university today. There's many great keynote speakers, including our own, there's many great keynote speakers during that event in the panel. Be sure to catch that event. There also is an event coming up this Thursday, April 28th, with the College Democrats. The College Democrats are hosting a lunch at the Capitol with members of the legislature. I would encourage all you guys to go to the TommyLink, sign up for that. I would really like the College Republicans to be also represented with that. We are invited to go with them. So highly encourage you guys. There will be Republican members of the legislature as well. So be sure to do that. The bus will leave at 11:30 a.m. in the Flynn turnaround. And at 11:30, and I've been promised that it'll be back at 3:25 to 5, around that time, in time for 3:25 classes. Also, Ryan Chase, who is a candidate for the Minnesota House of Representatives, SD49A, is looking for a campaign treasurer. Ryan Chase himself is a Tommy. He graduated in 2007. He plans to kick off his campaign soon, and he's looking for an intern to be a treasurer. Now, this is not a paid position. However, it is a great way to get experience if you're interested in this sort of thing, volunteering activity, that kind of stuff. I highly encourage you guys to look into that and apply if you are interested. The expected workload is 2 to 3 hours a week, or up until the election. Also, we are looking at having club elections planned for this coming September. If you are interested in running for any club positions, be sure to respond to that form that went out in the last email. And if you're interested in being involved in the College Republicans, it's a great way to get involved on campus. So if you are interested, I highly encourage you guys to run for a position on the board. I'll run through this really quick because we're kind of short on time, but essentially there's a little bit of issues with our logo, so we are looking to change our logo again. Originally, it was that terrible monstrosity of a logo, and so we changed it to our revised logo, which I thought looked pretty good. But then we had some issues with the members of the faculty tearing down our posters because they didn't know that it was a UST club because it didn't say UST on it. So we included the UST. Well, we're looking to buy merch for you guys, but for some reason, because of the new licensing, merch of St. Thomas is no longer allowed to include the initials UST. Weird thing, I know we can talk about it afterwards, but so we are looking to changing our logo again to the St. Thomas part in the middle of the elephant. So that's kind of our new design that we're looking at. So we're looking at merchandise for this coming semester. Know that's kind of the logo that we're looking at going forward. So if you're interested in getting sweatshirts, T-shirts, hats, or pins, be sure to respond to a form that should be coming out in the next email. So. Finally, I'm really excited to announce this. The Center of the American Experiment has invited all of us to attend an event with former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. For those of you who don't know, he was the Secretary of State under Trump. It is hosted by the Center for American Excellence. It is scheduled for Friday, May 6th at 5:30 at the Hilton Hotel in Minneapolis. It should be a great event. And the usual entrance fee for like people regular, like it's $250 a plate. It's a black tie affair, that kind of thing. But us college students get in for free. So I will be attending. If you are interested, highly encourage you guys. Just send me an email. Let me know you're interested in coming. I'll get you guys on the list. So that being said, we're very pleased to have Mr. Murphy here tonight. Mr. Murphy is a former police officer and successful business owner. In 2016, he ran a successful bid for City Council of Lexington, Minnesota. And in 2019, he was elected mayor of Lexington, where he has been a leader on conservative issues. Since him taking office, he has passed an anti-riot act, passed a prohibition of tyrannical powers, i.e. lockdown measures, that sort of thing. And he has also made Lexington a sanctuary, a Second Amendment sanctuary city. Mr. Murphy has since been leading a successful campaign across Minnesota for the nomination for governor, or the nomination to run for governor. There will be a state endorsement convention on May 13th to 14th. So with that, here to talk about who he is and why he should be the one to take on Tim Walz this November, I present to you candidate for governor Mike Murphy.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry I was late. Had a meeting that ran a little long before this. That was a great introduction, so thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Do you guys still have your Disney Plus subscriptions, or did you cancel that already? Yeah, right? What is it? You go woke, you go broke, right? I think Tim Walz went woke. I'm sure the rest of you can agree with me on that, because, I mean, I hope you're Republicans, right? But we're going to take the state back this November. We're going to win. And as a political outsider, I'm excited to have this opportunity to run for governor and do that, because I'm tired of the politicians. I'm tired of the special interest groups, the lobbyists, the dark money, the millionaires, the billionaires that control those who we elect to represent us. And one thing I've learned during my journey as running for governor is it's about we the people. And it's always been that, and I knew that before that, but it's especially about we the people this time, because that's what our Constitution says. We the people are right across it. But being a mayor for the last several years is you can't run from your constituents, because they'll find you in your city hall the first and third Thursday of every month and let you have it and tell you how things should be or their vision for their city that they live in. And we've kind of lost that way at state government. The governor of Minnesota isn't held accountable like our council members are across the state, or county board members. Our state legislators kind of hide in their offices, and they're not available to the people. So we have to have a candidate that's from the outside, and I firmly believe that we will win in November, take the state back, keep the Senate, win the House, Secretary of State, Attorney General, because I don't think anybody in this room likes Keith Ellison, and win the governor's office. How are things going here? I'm going to make this interactive. I'm not going to stand here and blab to you the entire time, because this is about you folks. It's not about me. It's about working together to fix Minnesota. So how is it woke here on the college campus? Pretty bad?
I was just walking by the statue of John Lennon, and a few days ago, who was the founder of this university way back?
Yeah.
And there was, oh, thank you. The Pro-Life Club just a few days ago had written down in chalk on the sidewalk, 2022 pro-life generation, or something like that, hashtag pro-life. And someone had gone over to that message, they washed it off and covered it up with this giant paragraph about why abortion, killing babies is a human right, and why, we need to support healthcare reform, and things like that, instead of, caring for human lives.
Yeah, it's kind of appalling, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't get triggered when the left says or does something, because
Oh, yeah.
I'm a normal common sense person, like so many of you are. But no, abortion is not health care at all whatsoever. What they're trying to push right now in California, don't know if you saw the news, is pure infanticide. They're going to allow
right up to past the moment of birth.
Yeah, they're proposing 7 to 28 days. Yeah, 28 days. Could you imagine, taking this baby that's 28 days old and just being like, okay, I think I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a human being. And that's appalling. But more importantly is we've taken one side and shut their voices off and appealed to the far other side and emboldened them to do whatever they want. And it's kind of nonsense. It needs to be a 50-50 thing, or more importantly, how about our First Amendment? Or just, you leave me alone, I leave you alone. So if you walk by what's written in chalk on the ground, I'm not going to go erase it. And that kind of started a long time ago with participation trophies, right? I mean, it's just like, I'm first place, but you're upset, so you get first place too. We've kind of created an entire generation of people who can't accept opposing sides, and it's appalling. Then, of course, you have woke universities, and you have woke organizations, and our schools. I mean, the critical race theory, indoctrination, the sexualization of our children. I'm sorry, but men are men, women are women. I don't think that men should be participating in female sports at all whatsoever. But we've allowed them also to take God out of our lives, which is, I'm glad this is still a Catholic university, right? But it's private. It's not publicly funded. I'm sure it is. And it's disappointing. But not only that, it oppresses you, and they're all about, stopping oppression, and they don't do that. It's their way or the highway, cradle to grave government, their ideology, and nobody else's ideology. And we have to fight back against that. And that's very important, because that's how we win. And when we win and change the narrative, and we get, a governor in this state, I'm going to be the Ron DeSantis of Minnesota, if you will. I'm not, I'm not afraid to stand up in front of the bully pulpit of that governor's office and let people have it, call them out by name, and just plainly just say, hey, your idea is dumb, and that's what we need. So, but everything's under attack. But I'm really glad the news today, though. Elon Musk bought Twitter. That's amazing, because we might, what? He bought it. Yeah, it went through. Yeah. It'd be nice to have $44 billion to do it like he did, but but yeah, it happened. So his whole entire platform is to give free speech back, verify real humans, get rid of the bots, and allow it to be a marketplace again like it was before the wokeism took over. But you have, universities, you have big business, you have media, you have Disney's, you have Netflix. You have all these organizations that are appealing to a very small base, and they're losing the fight. That's why you saw Netflix collapse last week and lost over $100 a share in stock. What was it, 200,000 subscribers left? You go woke, you're broke. That's the way it is. But our free speech, our Second Amendment, our Fourth Amendment, our 10th Amendment, they're all under attack. So I've done some things as a mayor that I know I can bring to the governor's office. One thing that wasn't noted on there, which is actually getting added to my website, but it's in the brochure, is back in January when Melvin Carter in St. Paul and Jacob Fry in Minneapolis decided, hey, let's try the social credit program with COVID, make you have a vax card to, eat at a Jimmy John's, but yet the employees inside that Jimmy John's weren't vaccinated. I guess that's their level of stupidity with that. But we made our city a health freedom sanctuary city. So that means no mandates, no vaccine requirements, no masks ever in our school district in Centennial whatsoever, and businesses couldn't terminate employees for refusing vaccination. And I'm sure you guys here at the school felt that pressure a lot. And that's a shame, because healthcare is not a one-size-fits-all approach. That's your bodily autonomy. Those decisions are made between you, your God, and your doctor, and nobody else. And it's important that we have that. So I will fight for health freedoms just as much as I fight for Second Amendment. And that's why I made our city a Second Amendment sanctuary city. I imagine all of you love guns, right? But it's more than that. It's more than hunting. It's to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, or to protect yourselves from being attacked by somebody. I'm so strong on the Second Amendment. If you want a tank, I feel like you should own a tank. Legal gun owners are going to be legal gun owners, like legal tank owners are going to be legal tank owners. Criminals do not follow laws. I learned that in law enforcement, and I see it every day. There's 40,000 gun laws on the books, and they're not being followed. That's why I believe in constitutional carry, stand your ground, vetoing red flag laws, and having a castle doctrine to be able to protect yourself and your family at home without being questioned. Because the way it works right now, you could be taking your last breath of life and fire back and defend yourself and kill the perpetrator, but I know that John Choi, the Ramsey County prosecutor, is gonna hang you out to dry and make sure that you sit in prison no matter what the circumstance is. And it shouldn't be like that. And we're literally taking criminals and we're making them heroes. It's super backwards. I feel like I went into another universe, the world that we're living in right now. But, you know, I want to talk about something different because you folks are all in college. Is anybody graduating this year, or do you still have a ways to go? I know Dave still has another 2 years, he said. Got ways to go. So, I mean, the way Minnesota's going right now with the constant, increase in taxes, regulations, and additional burdens, what's going to be here for you if Tim Walz is reelected? It's going to be a very, very hard job market. I'm a business owner. I have 2 UPS stores and a printing company. One of my stores is in Wisconsin, and the printing business and the UPS stores in Forest Lake, Minnesota. And we have about 40 employees between both locations, half of which are veterans, which I'm proud to say, because our veterans are important, but that's not what I was trying to go with. But the thing is, the job market right now is very difficult. I'm struggling as a business owner trying to find staff to come work because the COVID pandemic and the shutdown of businesses and who's essential and who's not essential kind of wiped out an entire job market and a job force. And if we don't do something about it soon and fix the path that we're on right now in Minnesota, there's going to be nothing left when you graduate other than debt. And as you know, it's very expensive to go to a university nowadays. And I feel for you. I know some of you might be on scholarship, or, you know, you might have, some wealthy mom and dads or grandparents that pay for your tuition, which is cool. That's great. But not everybody has that afforded opportunity. So my goal is to make sure that we have a job market in the next 18 months in Minnesota when I'm governor that will be functional again. And a lot of that has to do with starting to cut regulations, lowering the income taxes, opening mining in the Iron Range, supporting Main Street again instead of big corporations, and returning that surplus that was taken from taxpayers in the state of Minnesota. 'Cause that's theft. That's theft of our taxes. But we have to start reforming the welfare programs that we have in the state because it's costing us about $40,000 per recipient. I don't know if you knew that. The surrounding states are about $17,000 per recipient. So we're a destination state for fraud, waste, and abuse, and we really have to get that under control so that way, you know, we have a good Minnesota for our future generations, especially my child. She's only 2 years old. She has a long ways to go before she's ever sitting in those chairs. And I believe it's our duty to leave a better country, a better state behind than how we found it. And the left does not believe in that. So we have a lot of work to do. But I'm here for you, and I want to answer your questions. It's very important that we do that. So let's do it. Let's throw it out.
What's your views on the CRT bills, those sort of things, like things banning critical race theory in high schools, education, academic stuff like we've seen in Florida? Was that something you implement in Minnesota?
Absolutely. So the question for those listening online is, how do I feel about the CRT bills? On day one, I will do an executive order. Let me be clear. I don't want to be a governor of executive orders because that doesn't make me any better. Our legislative branch makes laws. But I will ban it, indoctrination, all of the radical teachings that go along with it at any level. But more importantly, the House and the Senate has to draft a bill that I can sign that's ironclad and permanent. But more so, it needs to expand to giving parents curriculum transparency, school choice, supporting homeschools, magnet schools, STEM schools, all of our educational options, supporting educational excellence, focuses on reading, writing, math, science, trade schools, putting civics back in the classrooms, and actually teaching history. You know, the pros and the cons of our history, because we need to know that. And what I've learned throughout the state, that there's a lot of areas that have taken the pledge out of the classrooms, and we have to put the pledge back in the classrooms too as well. Yes, sir.
With so many pretty good candidates running for governor on the Republican side, what do you think sets you apart from everyone else?
Yeah, great question. So I've done things that everybody's only spoken about. Reducing taxes, cut spending within my city. And bear in mind, I have a moderate and a liberal on my council, so I have to get them to come along. as well, and they do every time. So I've done the reduced taxes, cut the spending, so that's property tax level I'm talking about now. I mean, that affects your homes and you know, what you have to pay out every year in property taxes. Second Amendment sanctuary, everybody that I'm running against talks about guns, but they've never done anything to protect our Second Amendment. The two doctors in the race talk about health freedoms, but they've never done anything to protect your health freedoms like I have. So being a mayor is a lot like being a governor. I get the same constitutional power just within my community, my area. So when Governor Walz used his emergency powers, I used my emergency powers, except for the difference is I gave them back to my council. He just held on to them and took away your voice, which is your elected representative. So it's an executive position. So I already have the experience drafting and completing and voting on and making budgets at my level, like you do just as a governor at the state level. It's just, you know, when you move up to the state level, you have a lot more zeros than you do in a city. But money is money. It all spends the same way if you know what you're doing. And I've learned that as a small business owner too as well. And I have a law enforcement background. So I know how we're going to support our police departments, how we're going to work to remove bad police. I myself have had to do that when I was in law enforcement. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but nobody's above the law. So if you have bad coworkers, you have to address bad coworkers. So we're going to fix the law and order issue. We're going to hold judges and prosecutors accountable. And one thing that a mayor does is you appoint people to positions just like a governor does. So the vetting process, the interviewing process, it's basically just a step up from where I'm at. So I already have that experience that nobody else does.
What are you going to do as governor to advance pro-life causes? Because I believe on the books right now there is a Supreme Court case in Minnesota that makes it such that, you know, putting in any law, even vaguely restricting abortion is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so how are you going to work with, you know, the pro-life movement to put in pro-life laws in Minnesota?
Yeah, so nationally, as you know, we have Roe versus Wade, which was, you know, decided on by the courts rather than legislation. So I have a good feeling it will get overturned this year at some point. But what you're referring to in Minnesota is Doe versus Gomez, which is our version of Roe versus Wade. So currently right now, the Senate in Minnesota, the Republicans, could be stopping that from happening because nowhere does it say that a senator or representative has to vote on funding abortions with taxpayer money. So for this entire time, they've been packaging these bills into omnibus bills, and then they've been doing blanket votes and passing them through, and they get signed by the governor. One thing that a governor has is line item veto power in Minnesota. So I will take out and line item veto the Planned Parenthood funding. And I will do that, and I'll get sued, and then I'll veto it again, and I'll get sued, and I'll veto it again. And we'll just keep going around this entire circle. But more importantly, the next governor gets to appoint 4 state Supreme Court justices. So it's very important that those justices are originalists, they're constitutionalists, they see law as law. And when the House and the Senate drafts that new legislation to overturn the Doe versus Gomez, the new Supreme Court will uphold the ruling, and because there will be lawsuits, and then that's how we start honing in on the Planned Parenthood funding of abortion that taxpayers are paying for. That was about 8,000 babies that were killed in 2020 through that. But we could have been stopping this all along. We're just not allowing it to happen. So there's a lot of work to do with that and multiple fronts to attack it. So I've been speaking with National Right to Life out in Washington, D.C. regarding it, and then also MCCL here in Minnesota about how we're going to tackle that.
As governor, what are your plans regarding election integrity?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I was hoping somebody would, so I didn't have to bring it up. One thing that I'm doing now is we're going to get the machines out of my city. We're going to remove the machines out of Lexington. We're going to start working with Anoka County commissioners to potentially do the same thing within the county or take a different approach to forensically auditing the county. But when I'm governor, what we're going to need is obviously voter ID. I mean, that's common sense, but we have to be cleaning our voter rolls monthly. If, people pass away, people move in, people move out. We have to go back to paper ballots for a while. I firmly believe that until we can figure out if technology can be implemented and used the right way. We have to get rid of the voting season that we have in Minnesota. I mean, After the nomination in a few weeks, the primary takes place in August, but voting for the primary actually starts the end of June. And then the general election actually starts the end of September. So we have a 47-ish day early voting process. And then we have to make mail-in ballots illegal. We have to restrict absentee ballots because they run wild in Minnesota. And then ballot harvesting has to get illegal as well, which it is, but we have to uphold the prosecution levels of the ballot harvesting, which we're not doing, which is why Ilhan Omar got away with the absentee ballot, or not absentee, but the ballot harvesting she did in CD5. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to do, but we need to hold 2020 back. There's some lawsuits that have been filed, will be filed, to hold the election records of 2020 so we can go back and audit it, because the statute of limitations will allow us to prosecute fraud when we find it. But more importantly, we need a good Secretary of State who will implement the election process that we will come up with at the governor's office level and then the House and Senate level as well. But there's a lot of work to do with elections. I've been out to Wisconsin on an election integrity panel with Laura Logan from Fox News. We sat out there and discussed what Wisconsin's issues were and what they went through. They showed the forensic data that they were able to find. There were people that were dead for 112 years that were voting. I mean, they showed when the machines were shut off and then the data was re-uploaded. That's why you saw that weird spike around 4 in the morning. So we know what took place, and Wisconsin's going to overturn their election. They're working towards it right now, and I'm very confident that that'll be one of the dominoes. But Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota are the 3 biggest states that we have to flip this year. So that way we can pass strong election laws, and then it makes it harder for the 2024 presidential election for any sort of voter fraud to take place.
You mentioned having a strong Secretary of State to go after a lot of those election integrity stuff. Do you have a candidate in mind who you would like to see as Secretary of State, or are you still in that process? I know there's a lot of people running for that position.
There's only 2.
There's 2. Okay.
Yeah, Kim Crockett and then Kelly Johnner Byrne. I'm a Kelly supporter. I believe that Kelly has the business background that we need to really run the office, because 80% of that office really is business. It's not necessarily elections. It's about 20% elections, because the Secretary of State's role with elections is to make sure that statute's being followed and the process is running the way that it should. They don't have any rulemaking authority to implement election regulations, but we saw Steve Simon decide that that's what he was going to do. That's not within the purview of that office. We need somebody who's strong on business, and Kelly has a phenomenal business background through her experience in her life. Plus, she's very outspoken, she's bold, she doesn't hold back. And it's kind of the same person that I am, so I think her and I running together would make a great pair. So.
What about Lieutenant Governor or Attorney General?
Yeah, so we don't have a Lieutenant Governor pick yet, and Attorney General, I'm going to hold that one back for right now, just a little longer. Until I make a final decision with that one. Yeah.
You briefly mentioned about Ilhan Omar. As a mayor, governor, are you going to investor her illegally elected as a senator?
Yeah, she's a congresswoman in CD5. Yes, we do need to have an investigation into her citizen status, and then how she got to where she got today. I know it's going to be a very polarizing issue when we get there, but we have to have no questions with who we're electing. We have to make sure that it's on the up and up, that that individual is qualified for that position per our Constitution, and that's just the way it's going to have to be. And if we don't find anything, we don't find anything. And if we do, well, then we're going to have to deal with it appropriately, but it has to be a fair, honest, and open, transparent investigation. It's not going to be a witch hunt. I won't allow those types of things to take place. So. Oh, come on. You got to have something for me.
How do you manage being mayor, campaigning, and running several businesses all at the same time?
And being a father and and a husband. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. It's go, 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 go. For example, yesterday we drove up to Park Rapids, which is 3.5 hours away, and then drove an hour and a half to Moorhead, and then another 3.5 hours back home, and had to day we were on the metro today, but tomorrow we go up to Eveleth, and I mean, all over the state. I've put on well over 30,000 miles just in the last few months driving. It's just something you do. It's a commitment that you make. As far as running a business, I do have managers. I have a business partner. I have people that are helping me. But, you know, sometimes it's 2:30, 3 in the morning. You got to do things. It's just, it's part of it. It's a job interview. That's why I've been running for 1 year and 4 months now. You have to be vetted. You have to show dedication that you're in it to win it. And it's unfortunate to say, and I don't mean this in like, if my wife's watching, I don't mean this in a selfish manner, but everything else comes second. The campaign has to be first. Because it's, you know, this is one of the biggest things I've ever done in my entire life. It is the biggest thing I've ever done. I'm asking 5.5 million Minnesotans to trust me to be their governor. And it's a very big decision for people to make, and you have to be committed to it. So it is a lot of work, but you have to have a great support system. You have to have a phenomenal staff behind you. And I'm very, very blessed and fortunate to have those things.
Just curious about your thoughts on kind of the economy. I don't know, us being in college, looking at Minnesota's taxes and stuff like that isn't too enticing to stay here for my entire life. I don't want to be paying all that money. Just what are your thoughts and ideas, and what do you plan to do as far as taxing and the economy goes in Minnesota?
Yeah, great question. As I was saying earlier, there are things that we're going to have to, steps that we're going to have to take in the beginning. One of the big things that we're losing is our seniors, because we still have a tax on our senior citizens with Social Security. So we're going to have to repeal the Social Security tax. It's kind of nonsense that we tax that. We're one of 12 states that still do it. The estate tax, commonly referred to as the death tax, also has to be repealed because, you know, family farms are trying to pass their land and their businesses on to family members, and they're being taxed heavily on that. So those things are going to have to be repealed instantly, but more importantly, we have to start bringing businesses back into Minnesota that have left because of the overtaxation. It's going to be a multi-front approach, because we're going to have to address the fraud, waste, and abuse. We're going to have to look at the Department of Health budget, the Department of Education budget, public safety, and the DNR budgets, because those are the ones that really eat up the most money. Just in the last decade, our budget has grown by $11 billion. We have $9.4 billion that was taken from us in overtaxation, plus we have an additional $4.5 to $5 billion from the federal government too. So I mean, that's $16 billion that we have sitting in our coffers right now. That's kind of crazy, but we're going to have to cut the social welfare programs. Like I said, it's $40,000 approximately per recipient. That's unacceptable. I mean, I'm all for helping people who need help, but the problem is they get on these programs and they just continually go and they don't get themselves off. So we have to have some sort of metric or method to assist people, but at some point, you know, we have to have standards for them to be off those programs to start living their own lives again. So, and fraud, waste, and abuse is a very big thing we have. You know, we're talking a couple $100 million for a daycare scandal that has never been addressed. We're talking about $300 to $400 million for this Feeding the Future fund that is being investigated right now. We have superintendents across the entire state that are making $300,000 to $400,000 a year as administrators. There's just a lot of abuse of our funds that we're going to have to hone in, but we have to start mining our natural resources in Minnesota. It's very important. I don't want to kill our environment at all whatsoever. I mean, I want to be good to our environment. I fish and hunt and camp across the entire state. The last thing I want to do is pollute our state. But if we're not mining our natural resources, not only is it a national security issue, but we're also buying products from countries that hate us, like China. We have to stop doing that. We really do. They just closed down a facility up in Two Harbors. That's a lot of jobs are going to be lost. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a couple hundred. And then in Virginia and Hibbing, if these new taconite permits are not approved, which is iron ore, which is make steel, you're talking about 1,500 people in the Iron Range that are going to lose jobs. Mining actually will bring in hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tax revenue that we can use to sustain Minnesota that we no longer have to take from taxpayers. It's a lot of stuff we have to do. We really do. Nobody. It's like the same 3 people. Kidding. That was great.
Gotta fill the silence somehow. Um, what are your views on limitations on the governor's emergency powers? Like, how far do you want to take them or restrict them, or however?
Yeah, we need to restrict them so they're almost non-existent unless there's a real emergency. Major natural disaster, fire, flood, tornado, or terrorist attack, or looting and rioting, things like that. But not for health emergencies, or just the ability to abuse them. So right now, the way they work for me at my level is I can call an emergency if there is one. I keep the powers for 3 days and I have to give them back. And then we make decisions as a city council. The emergency powers provision in our Constitution is so broad that even at that time I could do the same thing as a mayor until I rewrote them at a city level, so incoming mayors behind me can't do what the governor did. So the governor can hold on to them in perpetuity forever right now, and that has to get changed. I'm fine with whatever the House and Senate wants to bring me, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 30 days, but it has to be so limited and so restricted that I can't lock you out of your schools and your churches and your businesses. I can't pick what's essential, not essential. The whole point is to move the resources when there's an emergency, whether it be money or people. And then after that, it has to go back to your elected representatives to make those decisions with you. And if they vote as a body to allow the governor to continue using those powers, then that's their choice. But I'm fine with the governor issuing that emergency, doing what the governor needs to do to attend to that emergency instantly, and after that, it has to go back to the House and the Senate.
So what keeps the governor from declaring new emergencies?
Absolutely nothing right now.
And what you're proposing?
Well, at some point, there's an expiration date on the powers.
Yeah, but like declaring a new emergency to regain the powers versus declaring a new emergency on something slightly different.
Yeah, so in the legislation that would be proposing, it would prevent a governor from being able to take a backdoor approach and do it. But currently, as it stands right now, he can just do it. So we have to change that, limit it. So, if you know what I'm getting at, yeah.
Your pamphlet says that you are for legal immigration and for border control. Could you explain your plans on those 2 issues?
Yeah, we do have to control our border. Our southern border right now is an absolute mess. There's, I think, a little over 2 million migrants that have come in since Joe Biden's been president. Let's go, Brandon, right? But with not only that is it, illegal migrants coming into our country, but it's fentanyl and it's people that are being trafficked. Human trafficking is a big issue in our country, especially at our border. But actually, not only that, but in Minnesota is one of the highest trafficked states in the entire country. I'm not going to go into much of the details because of a time thing, but we have the weakest laws of any state. So we are a destination for human trafficking. But not only that is we have I-90 that goes east and west, and we have 35 that goes north and south. And we have our Canadian border. One thing that we have here in Minnesota is our lakes freeze over on our borders. So people are being transferred into Canada from Minnesota or being brought down from Canada as well too. But it's not only just children and women being sold for sex trafficking, it's also adults being sold for slave labor. So human trafficking encompasses multiple things. So we have to get that under control. I'm not afraid to send National Guard down to the border like so many other governors have. Even if it's our northern border as well. But I'm also not afraid to put illegals in buses and planes and bring them to Joe Biden's front step in Delaware. So that needs to get done. I'm 100% for legal immigration. My mother was a legal immigrant. My wife's father is a legal immigrant. Eventually, some point in our family trees, we're all legal immigrants. I have so many friends and family members that are all legal immigrants. I support all of that. If you want to come here on a work visa, you want to get a green card, you want to become a U.S. citizen, just do it the right way. But we're flooding our borders with criminals. We're flooding our borders with individuals who are taking advantage of our system. I mean, we're the only country in the world that we allow something like this to happen. I guarantee you can't do this in another European country. You definitely cannot do this in an Asian country, and a Middle Eastern country. You're just going to get killed if you try to do it. So we have to restrict the immigration. We do, and it's costing us a lot of money. And not only that, but our national security, because they've already caught terrorists, they've already caught spies, they've already caught so many different things that will affect us at some point in our lives.
From what I understand now, St. Paul, the Twin Cities are sanctuary cities. Is that right?
For immigration?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
If you elected governor, what are some of the things that you would do?
Yep.
To,
Ultimately, all roads lead to legislation to remove the sanctuary status on Minneapolis and St. Paul, but executive order will do that. Don't want to do it unless I have to, but those will have expiration dates on them. Right now, governors that use executive orders, they just keep them in place until the next governor, and then that governor can overturn them. I would rather put pressure on the legislature to draft laws to make it permanent. So.
well, we're actually about out of time.
Yeah.
So,
Do you mind if I just do a closing?
not at all.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of things that we need to do to win, especially this nomination. I do have to ask: did anybody become a delegate for the state convention? We have one. All right. Overachiever in the room. No, but one thing that we are doing is we have internship programs with the campaign. We have the Winona College Republicans that are going to join us at the state convention. We have some members of the Mankato College Republicans that will as well. If you folks from St. Thomas want to come to the state convention and help out the campaign, we're willing to have your assistance and help as well. Not only does it teach you a whole bunch of stuff, but you get to see the chaos firsthand and kind of how the process works. And it's going to be a fun, exciting weekend. It's May 13th, 14th are the two convention days, and we have a debate the night before on the 12th with all the candidates. So it'll be a fun process. If you want to help out at the state convention and support the campaign and get a letter of recommendation at the end of the day, if you want that. I don't know if it's cool to get those letters anymore. I mean, it might hurt you or help you. I don't know. But not only that, it's an opportunity when I'm nominated to actually work on the full governor campaign all the way through November, which is going to be an exciting time for all of us. But I'm running to save the state. Let me be clear here. I'm not taking money from special interest groups or lobbyists or millionaires or any of those people, because what you'll hear time and time from me, it's about the people. And that's how we're going to win this election. So, and also, I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for name ID or any of the celebrity status that comes with it. And definitely not the money, because I've pledged to donate the salary of the governor. I don't want it, and I'm not motivated by it. You know, I've been fortunate in my life that I think my wife and I can figure out how we're going to get groceries while we're in the governor's office and, you know, in the governor's residence. It's not a big deal. We need to get the money out of politics. And, you know, just in the back of my flyer, you can see things that we've accomplished on the campaign trail already. I'm the only Republican in history to receive an endorsement from the Hmong American Leadership Council, not only in the state, but nationally. That represents the whole entire Hmong community in Minnesota. So that means all 18 families gave me an endorsement plus their leader. So that's a big deal. That means that they're ready for change. Leaders in the Somali community have also endorsed me. We have straw poll victories. We have an endorsement from Congressman Paul Gosar out of Arizona, who's going to help me get the mining and natural resources under control in Minnesota. But we have the Gun Owners Association, A rating, the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus straw poll win. We have just a ton of stuff. And since you're college Republicans, when we were in Winona for a debate a couple of weeks ago, I overwhelmingly won that straw poll that they had down there by like 60%, I believe is what it was. So it's a campaign about everybody. So if you want to join me, help me, just let me know. I have some business cards. Unfortunately, I think my political director, Emily's out of them, but we'll give you a way to contact us. So thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it. Sorry for being a little late. Hopefully I don't get an F, right, for it. But you know, you have a lot you're going through being in college, especially in these times. And I definitely will work hard as your governor to make sure that, you know, campus life everywhere across the state is open and fair. Because when I was in college, we didn't have these problems at all, and we have to get back to that again. So God bless all of you. Thanks for your time tonight. Thank you.
around for a little bit. I think, I don't know, are we at mac and cheese? There's a lot left. There's a lot left. Okay, well, feel free to stick around, but if not, I think that's about it. So,